Hi everyone, it's Shotzi for the Rough Cuts on Sunday. Hope you've been having a great week. Today I'm going to be talking about one of the documentaries that had its world premiere at South by Southwest, and that is Hawking. This is of course about Stephen Hawking, and it's a very intimate portrayal of him as a man. It focuses on his life from childhood to present day, and it also touches up a bit on his genius, although it doesn't delve too deeply into that. This is an autobiographical documentary. Stephen Finnegan, who directed this, said that at first he was thinking of hiring an actor to do a voiceover, but the more and more information that he gathered and the more acquainted he became with Stephen Hawking, it became really apparent that they needed to use Hawking's voice in order to do the narration for this. And even though it's a computer-generated voice, it really does provide a lot of emotion, and you get a good feeling of the sort of things that are going through his heart, his mind, and also you get a taste of his sense of humor. I think a lot of people believe since he's a genius, he doesn't know how to laugh, but he's actually a pretty funny man, very witty, and has a pretty sharp sense of humor, and you get a taste of that in this documentary. It gives a lot of information through interviews from family members, colleagues, and just really people who adore him. There's even an interview in here from Jim Carrey, which was kind of random, but that was trying to display his sense of humor and how they did a bit together on Leno. But one of the interviews that they had was with his sister, and she talked about when they were children, she had a dollhouse, and Stephen Hawking, he had installed not only electricity but also plumbing in her dollhouse. And I can't even fathom the plumbing. When I was 10, I had a dollhouse, and with the help of my father, I installed electricity in my dollhouse, because at that point in time, I was obsessed with electricity. So I wanted to put electricity in there. I did that. But plumbing, I can't even begin to fathom how you put plumbing in a dollhouse. But he did this on his own as a child. And it talked about his days as a student in Oxford University and how he was just a party guy. You know, he wasn't really serious about his studies. He was just naturally extremely smart. And so he didn't really apply himself as much as he could have as a student, but he still finished top of his class. But he spent most of his days partying and mingling with the ladies. It wasn't until he was doing his PhD candidacy at Oxford University when he first started really noticing the signs of ALS, and he was given 2 years to live. That's when he really wanted to become serious with his studies, and he just went balls to the wall, applied himself, because he wanted to be able to accomplish everything that other young people that age want to do. He wanted to get married, and to get married he needed a job, so he wanted to get his PhD, and in order to do that in that short amount of time, he needed to come up with something basically pretty controversial, but it would make the world take notice of him, and that's exactly what he did. So this delves a little bit into how ALS has affected not only his body, but also his mind. And when I finished my master's degree, I was doing continuing education in Houston, and we had a professor who came in to talk to us about people who have disabilities and how they can really make those work for them. And she mentioned Stephen Hawking and how if he didn't have ALS, he wouldn't be in the position where he is now mentally. And they actually talk about that in this documentary, and they say pretty much what she said. The more that his motor skills and body started to degenerate, the more he was able to explore his mind and come up with all of these brilliant theorems. So a lot of people would see his ALS as being a real disadvantage, but if he didn't have that, he wouldn't explored his mind the way that he has. So it's really benefited him in that way, but it's a double-edged sword, obviously, because at this point in time, all he can do is move, I think, his cheek muscle and his tongue. But it's a good documentary in that it just sort of grazes the surface and shows him as a man and how the celebrity, disability, his genius has affected him on a personal level. It doesn't really go into his genius. Like, obviously, everyone knows that he's one of the most brilliant minds of the century, but it could have explored a little bit deeper in that, but I don't think there would have been enough time. And also, I don't think that was really the goal of Stephen Finnegan. I think he really wanted to show Stephen Hawking as a person, minus all of the celebrity and all of the grandeur that people give him, and deservedly so. I believe that PBS is going to be showing this documentary once it finishes its festival run, so it's definitely worth a look because you can see Stephen Hawking as a person, see his wit, and try to see him beyond just a brain and beyond a person with a debilitating disease, because he really is so much more than that, and there is a man who's underneath all of that exterior. And so it's an intimate look at his personal life, things that he's gone through, and what he cares to share with the audience. So give it a go. Hawking. I will see you all next time. Until then, goodbye.